Today's guest on the Roost is a jazz piano player from New York. Moved to Nashville and started working in various studios, producing and assisting artists. He has tons of experience in the studios and a lot of great stories, so I hope you enjoy this conversation with Scott Greenblatt.
Yeah, dude, I was trying to start a podcast with my friend. I have like 2 episodes just sitting in the bank on my computer. And then he was like, he lives in LA, and he was like, you know what, man, I think you should find someone in your city to do it with. And I was like, nah, man, it's not about that. It's just, you just don't have the same motivation.
Oh, dang. Yeah, that too. I almost had a co-host back in Louisiana. But yeah, I definitely like the freedom aspect of just like kind of not having to rely on someone else, just doing whatever I want, and even just like you know, at some point I might even have to do something by myself or something. I don't want to like stress myself too much about like, oh, I need a guest every time, or I need it to be this format every time. It's definitely growing and changing. Sometimes I have us jam on the pod. Sometimes I do, you know, just longer, shorter. So it's still just kind of like figuring out the format. And but I've always wanted to do a podcast, man. I've wanted to do a podcast for years and years. And
cool.
I filmed a couple and like just on my phone and on, you know, different little interfaces and stuff. And one day I was just like, you know what, I just want to go for it. It was, you know, middle of into COVID or whatever. And I was like, I kind of want to go for it because, you know, music's all shut down.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to diversify, you know, how I was going to approach the.
I imagine the operation has probably improved over the years, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, honestly, it was, I kind of did just kind of dive in pretty hard at first too. I mean, it definitely has come a little ways, but I was like, you know, I kind of wanted to invest in it so that people would kind of take it seriously and kind of take me seriously and know that I cared about it. And
cool.
I wanted to try and go for it.
And do you guys like switch the cameras and stuff? Like,
yeah, for sure. We got 3 angles. Yeah.
Are we going already?
Yeah, we're going.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we're in it.
I didn't realize we were rolling.
Oh yeah, we're in it.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I try and make it seamless and just make it, you know, not too much anticipation or too much like build up, because I've done some TV interviews before and it's definitely been you know, start sweating, start getting the red light syndrome or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say I gotta make sure I look good.
Oh, dude. Yeah, you're good, man.
All right, cool.
But yeah, so tell me a little bit about yourself, like how long you been in Nashville and what kind of got you out here.
Yeah, so I'm Scott Greenblatt.
Yeah.
This is actually, I'm celebrating 1 year this week.
Oh, wow.
In Nashville. I'm originally from the Northeast. I grew up in New Jersey and went to college at Syracuse University. And then after that, I did some work in and around New York City for a little over a year, working at recording studios. I got my first internship at Electric Lady Studios.
Nice.
And then I did some stuff at this other studio in Midtown called GSI Studios, working with more like jazz artists and instrumental stuff. And all the while I was doing like freelance music production and mixing, gigging. But I was living back home with my parents at the time. Yeah. And I'd never been to Nashville before, and it just like wasn't even on my radar really, what the scene was like. So I came down for 1 week in January and networked with a bunch of people, not really with the intention of moving, but just like wanted to check out the scene. Yeah. I liked it enough. One thing led to another. I met a bunch of people, and then a couple months later, I moved down. I moved down at the last week of April of last year. And the first gig that I got down here was interning for this producer and artist named Mark Sibilia. Yeah. And that sort of turned into more of a job. There's been a whole bunch of twists and turns over this past year, which I can get into, but that's sort of the short story of.
Yeah, and I also saw you did some work with Andrew Masters.
Yeah.
That's so sick. See, before I moved out here, I kind of went on like a binge of just all this studio tours.
Same.
And that's so nuts. That's such a dope like little partnership. Like, tell me about Andrew Masters and Mark Sibilia and kind of what that work kind of looked like.
Yeah, for sure. So same with me, dude. Like, that was honestly a huge part of the research that I did to get down here. I had been watching Andrew's videos since I was in college, and for several years, just sort of as like an audio and studio nerd. Like
Yeah.
it's cool to sort of see the behind the scenes of people's spaces. So it was like 3 days before I was going to Nashville, and I had really no agenda. I sat down at my parents' kitchen table, whipped open the laptop, and I just went on his channel and typed in the search bar like Nashville producers, engineers. Just started clicking through, watching a bunch of videos, reaching out, like cold messaging a ton of people who were in Nashville. A bunch of people responded, a bunch of people didn't, but I ended up getting like 10 meetings or so in a week. And that was majority all through Andrew's channel. The crazy thing is that when I was down here for that week, a buddy of mine, totally like coincidental, he's an amazing musician, artist. He was like, "Oh, you should reach out to my buddy Andy while you're in town." He's like, he did some work with me in LA. And I was like, "Wait, Andrew Masters?" It was crazy. It was like this entire week I was networking with people who I found through his channel.
Wow.
And then it was like the final boss
Yeah.
last week. The last meeting that I had. So I met him that week when I was visiting, and was just picking his brain, talked about how I'm a keyboard player and stuff. I reached back out to him when I moved back here, or when I moved here. And I just told him, "Hey, I'm in town if you ever need like keys or anything for any sessions, whatever." So the first thing that I did with him was I came over and I like demoed a virtual Rhodes that like Universal Audio put out. Got to be in a video, which was cool. And I was interning for Mark at the time. So then I think he just knew that I was here. And he knew Mark already. He obviously did like a studio tour there.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to like condense this, but so basically, in the last summer, then I ended up going on the road with Mark. He was opening for this amazing artist named Matt Carney, and so he took me on the road with him. And I got a phone call from Andrew, and he was looking for a new video editor, and he saw the stuff that like the work that I was doing with Mark, and asked if I had any interest. And at that point, I like needed a job because it was practically an unpaid internship. I was getting paid for like gigs, basically, like some mixes and stuff here and there, prepping things. But I needed like a full-time job, and I was this close to taking a Guitar Center like corporate job, like a sales job. And I was like, dude, I'd love to do that and not have to work for Guitar Center. No shame in working for Guitar Center. It's just like that would be great if I didn't have to like be a phone salesman. So I accepted that, and so the reason why it's so full circle is because like I found Mark through Andrew, and then Andrew like hired me through the work that I did with Mark, and then skipping ahead, I worked for Andrew for about 6 months, video editor, assistant, and then Mark's team ended up hiring me like full time, and that's what I'm doing now.
Nice. So do you still do any editing for Andrew?
Nope. I stopped formally working with Andrew in January, but I mean we're still in touch, and
that's
bridge, like no bridges burnt or anything
absolutely.
like that. It was amicable. It just the stuff that I'm doing for Mark is a little bit more in line with my interests. I'm a little bit more music. Like I sort of fell ass backwards into this whole video role. I don't consider myself like a video guy. But I know how to edit videos. And that sort of has been keeping me in the game. Helps me stay afloat in music.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I had to wear a lot of hats for sure. And that's kind of like how I even got into the rabbit hole of recording and all that stuff, was just knowing like as a guitar player, I just need to know how to do more things. I need to know how to record myself and all that. And then one thing leads to another, and I'm like, oh snap, I didn't even realize like now I'm able to record demos and do a whole thing. And like really I ended up having to learn way more about it than I ever thought I'd have to. But it kind of grew on me, and then I did an internship at a studio, and then that really got me like into gear, and then that's how I started watching all the Andrew Masters stuff.
What studio?
Back in Louisiana, there's a studio called Dockside Studios.
Cool.
It's it's amazing. It's one of the only real professional studios in the area that I was in. It's like southern Acadiana. Cool. And it's beautiful, beautiful studio, big isolated countryside, like
Sweet.
just in the swamps. And it's beautiful out there. It's like a little piece of heaven.
Yeah.
But there's not really, it couldn't really like lead to that much else. It was just kind of like a free internship, and there wasn't really a job waiting on the other end of it or nothing like that. But I learned a lot and got to meet some cool people and hang. But dude, tell me about Electric Ladyland, dude. Holy crap.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. So I did a graduate program after I graduated from Syracuse. So I stuck around for another year for a multitude of reasons, but part of that was I graduated during COVID, and sort of like as an incentive, Syracuse was like, hey, you want half off tuition for a grad program? Like, stay for one more year. And my parents were cool with me doing another year at school. I was playing in a band at the time called No New Friends. Everybody was a year younger than me, so it was like another opportunity to continue playing with my band for a year and to get another degree out of it.
Nice.
And then at the end of that program, you like needed an internship. So that was cool because it kind of like forced me to start looking into things. And like I said, I'm from New Jersey, grew up around New York, and I love that area. Like, ultimately, I would love to eventually be doing what I'm doing here in Nashville, in New York, again, like once I'm able to go back. But I was like, man, I need to work at a recording studio. I'd love to work at like Electric Lady, but it's Electric Lady.
Yeah, right.
And the way that I remember it, it was like winter break or something. And I just remember like sitting up in bed, and I was like, wait, why not?
Yeah.
Why not Electric Lady?
Right.
I can do this. And I just started really grinding, trying to look for contacts and just connections. And the way that I was able to sort of get in touch there was I found out that a camp friend of mine, a kid who I went to summer camp with, who I hadn't talked to in years, was a fraternity brother with the internship coordinator there. And I found that out through like LinkedIn.
That's so crazy.
And so he introed the two of us. And that was like by no means an automatic in, but it was just like a foot in the door, and maybe someone who could like vouch for me as a person.
Yeah.
So I was in touch with him. The thing with Electric Lady is they don't hire more than 2 weeks in advance. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking for me because it's like 2 weeks before I'm graduating. I don't even know if I have an internship yet. But I just like stayed in touch with them throughout the year. And then finally it was like 2 weeks before walking across the stage, got back in touch. I drove down to New York City and like shadowed at the studio for a day. It went well. I think I did 13 miles on foot that first day, because you're just doing a whole lot of running around the city.
Okay.
But yeah, it was amazing. Like, I have so many stories and just really fond memories looking back there. For every sort of like really tough or like shitty experience. Can you curse on your podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Experience that I had at the studio, like there was like one amazing thing would make all those things worth it. Getting to just be in these iconic rooms and brush shoulders with, you know, some of the top artists in the game. Like, it really motivated me to just strive for greatness. I think that I don't know, not to be like on a soapbox, but I think that a lot of people sort of throw in the towel or call it quits when it starts to get tough. And I really experienced there, like, everybody there is doing what they love to be doing at the highest possible level. And I think that sort of motivated me, that like, why can't I do that? So that's, I just like, I just really want to be making music at the highest level that I can, and being at Electric Lady, even as an intern, where I was just like, you know, breaking down sessions and cleaning bathrooms and stuff like that. Like, just to be in that space, I felt really grateful and motivated.
Yeah, I could definitely sympathize with that, man. There's definitely some monster sessions that kind of reveal like how the sausage is made. And, you know, sometimes it can be long days in the studio. It's a different kind of exhaustion.
Yeah.
Were there any sessions that were like big giant sessions that really stood out to you?
I mean, I could probably name drop at this point. It's been like 2 years.
Or you know, even without name dropping, just like, you know, miking 2 drum kits at the same time, just like huge, like horn section production, like just big projects.
For sure. Or it was like I'm there on a night shift where you get there at 6 p.m. and then you find out at 11 p.m. that you have to do a full room reset for an 11 a.m. session, and then you're turning the entire room around all night, and you don't get out until like 10 the next day when the morning shift comes in.
Holy crap.
But the thing that made it so fun is it almost does feel like, in a way, this is like extreme, but it's like pledging in a fraternity or something like that. Like, you're in it with this class of people, like all the other interns who I was there with, like you're sort of bonded by this experience, but it's not like it's for nothing. You know that setting up the room the night before, making sure that all the lines are run properly, making sure that everything is up and going, so that the artists can come in and just have the most seamless session possible. Like, even though it seems like, why am I running this cable? Why am I like wedging my body behind like the smallest possible crevice so I can like run? Like, if you zoom out, like you are bettering experience for these artists. So I took some pride in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also like you pay your dues. Like I was like, as I'm, coiling these cables or trying to get into a tight place to, I don't know, make something look good.
Yeah.
I'm like, hopefully 5-10 years from now or whenever it is, like I will get to be the artist doing this. And it's not lost on me that a lot of people had, a similar trajectory where they started in these tight places too.
Yeah. No, there's a something really cool about like taking pride and hoping they don't notice anything that you did.
Yeah.
Like, you did such a good job. They have no idea
exactly
that you did a great job.
Yeah, they shouldn't even notice.
Yeah, right. Just like everything, every cable's safe to walk over. Every coffee mug's cleaned for the morning, and you have all your pantry stacked.
Yeah, a big part of the philosophy there that I learned, I sort of describe it as like it's corny, but it's like the school of hard knocks for just like working in a commercial space, where it was like 5 a.m. or something. We're all trying to get out because it's been almost an all-nighter, and we're walking through the rooms and just sort of doing like a check, making sure everything's good. And the assistant who is like supervising basically the interns that night opens up the microwave, and there's like a plate, like a clean plate, but just like in there, and he holds up, he's like, really? I'm like, dude, like, why does this? But then he's like, because like if an artist checks this and like they see that something's there that's not supposed to be, how can they be sure that like this keyboard's not going to be set there?
Wow.
And like, yes, that's a little extreme, but I sort of get the philosophy.
Yeah.
Like you said, like if you don't notice it, that's good, right? Like you shouldn't even notice how great everything is, because anyway, studio life.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's a really cool experience to be a fly on the wall, and like I fell in love with the recording process, and like that's definitely a long-term goal out here. Man, I'd love one day to be in the studio doing stuff like that. It's a much different vibe than the road or anything like that, and back in Louisiana, that's mostly what I was doing, was road stuff, because we didn't really have, I mean, we definitely played in town a good bit, but it's like you kind of have to go on the road to make a living.
So do you move here with your band?
So actually, I really just kind of moved here with guys who were willing to move here, and we kind of formed a band once we got here. Because I was just like, who wants to go to Nashville? And like,
I think we met briefly, but I think it was like maybe the day or like the week that you moved to Nashville.
Yeah, right.
It was that pitch meeting.
Yeah,
right. I was with my buddy George.
Yeah.
And was Mark playing that night, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I was there too.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think he's like the featured artist or something. And you just got called up. Is that?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, yeah.
Happy we met.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't connect those dots, but yeah, Mark was playing that night, and yeah, like pretty quickly I was like searching for the community that was kind of like, there's the different bubbles of Nashville, like the downtown bubble and the songwriter bubble or whatever.
Yeah.
And Pitch Meeting's just a dope spot.
Great way to meet people.
Yeah, and great art. It's just refreshing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's sick. So was that the first time you've been to Pitch Meeting, or?
No, I've been a handful of times before. Definitely a cool like first early Nashville experience, just getting to see the level of musicianship, like you said. For anyone who doesn't know what Pitch Meeting is, it's like you could probably describe it better than I could because you actually did it, but you come up with an idea or a song that the house band has never heard before, and you teach them on the fly, and jam basically.
Yeah,
right?
and it's like a full band open mic, and they just rock this 12-piece band behind you, and they'll make open micers sound like $1,000,000, and it's just great. It's a great experience. But yeah, man, I'd love to know more kind of like what is kind of the work you do with Mark, and like how's that kind of been going.
So I'm Mark's assistant, and we kind of alluded to earlier, you got to wear a lot of hats. So like, yes, I'm doing video editing and filming and content creation stuff with him, but I'm also in the room with him, just assisting productions and occasionally like bouncing out stems and prepping mixes for stuff like that. I'm basically just across all of like the creative stuff that he's doing, but maybe doing some of the more menial tasks so that he doesn't have to, and he can just solely focus on the creative stuff. Which has been really cool. And Mark's a cool guy to work with, and we've definitely over the past year have developed like a rapport within the studio. So yeah, I like I said, I started as his intern, but it sort of quickly developed into this assistant job, and there will be an intern in the studio with us from time to time too, just helping out with like the electric lady stuff, just like making sure the room is running seamlessly. But so yeah, that's been kind of cool, getting to employ some of the techniques and just like, I guess, managerial stuff that I picked up while I was there, because now I'm sort of like the bridge between the fully creative stuff that Mark is doing and then like the more tedious or like actual hands-on like studio project tasks, stuff like that.
And so you're doing this video editing, like that is also, I guess, its own rabbit hole too, and just like starting this podcast has made me appreciate production and video editing, and it's pretty simple video editing for the pod, but like now I still just like the way I watch content, the way I watch movies and stuff has changed, and now I'm like kind of looking at the camera angle, I'm looking at the whole thing as a whole created piece. Like where, obviously there's the college of YouTube, but how have you kind of like grown in your editing skills?
That's a good question. So I guess this isn't super well known just because like I don't advertise this about myself really, but I actually went to school, like my undergrad major was television, radio, and film.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing a lot of video editing there. Even at like the end of high school, I sort of picked up on the fact that editing videos sort of has a similar rhythm to producing music. Like within the video editing program or within the DAW, it's a lot of rhythmic cuts. It's a lot of, tasteful choices that you have to make. So that always just kind of came a little bit naturally to me. But I always applied that like within the scope of music. Like, so I've always been doing the video editing stuff, like it's just on the back burner. Then I started working for Andrew, and that actually really helped me hone my just like efficiency with video editing. And when I started like doing more of this video editing stuff with Mark, I was able to apply just some of the techniques that I use there, because I was originally in Premiere and now I'm using Final Cut just because that's what both of those guys used. So I guess what's changed, if that's the question, is just like my efficiency. Like I'm a faster video editor than I used to be. Also for like my personal stuff that I do, I started doing like these day in the life videos. Just because I figured like if I'm doing stuff that I think is cool and I can just like point a camera at it, really the hardest part of it is just like editing it at the end of the day. So that is something that has changed too. Like almost just seamlessly, like, oh, I'm doing something cool, just grab a clip of it. And I sort of hate that my brain is now like, oh, this would be good content. But I'm there. It takes no effort to just point my camera at it for 5 seconds, and then I can come back to it and come up with some sort of edit. And similar to you, like with this podcast, like opening doors, just putting what I'm doing in my daily life online has led to some really cool connections. It's like been a foot in the door. It's just helped me, I feel like, build out my credibility a little bit since I've been here in Nashville. And
I was gonna ask about it, man. I love those clips.
Thanks,
you
man.
do, man. It's like it comes across very authentic, like it's very unique editing, I guess.
Appreciate that.
And it's just like, it's great. It's a great narration and great storytelling, and like it's a pretty pretty good. I see George might be getting into that too. You might be inspiring a wave of day in the lives.
Yeah, the Nashville vlogs scene.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. It's kind of inspiring me. Like I wanna try and like get out of my head about like, oh, should I be capturing this? Like, oh, I don't want to be that guy filming this thing. But it's like, yeah, it doesn't take that long, and like
just do it. Yeah. The way that I look at it is like, and also I do think about this too. Like I was like, if content was as big of a deal as it is now, like when I was in high school, would I have had the same confidence to be like as online as I am right now? And probably not. Also hard to say just because it's a hypothetical. But yeah, just do it. Like I think that it's opportunities are left on the table by you not doing like, and yeah, I mean that's the simplest answer, but it's just like if you're in a really cool session and you can remember to take 10 seconds to just like find a cool angle and just point it, then like if you have an hour long piece of footage right there, that's like a bunch of edits from your session. That's, I don't know. I just think that the way that the world is going right now, we're in this sort of content economy and gotta capitalize on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's also like the journalistic aspect too. It's not like, you know, it's the day to day, and the continuation of that is cool, and it's not just like, I don't know, it doesn't seem as shallow or as like look at like the glamorous stuff I'm doing, like, oh, I'm going to a party or I'm going to like a crazy thing or whatever. It's just like, this is just me. This is who I am.
I'm glad it comes off that way, because like the last thing I want is for these videos that I put on to be like, hey, look at me, look how awesome I look, how cool. Like, so thank you. I'm glad it comes off authentic, because that's truly all I'm doing. I'm just showing what a day looks like. And I don't film every single day. If I know I have like a cooler day coming up, or just like a varied day, like, oh, I'm playing a gig today and then I'm also assisting, or like I'm going to see a concert. Like if I know there's going to be some variation in my day, then I'll film it. But yeah, I sort of just want to showcase that as a freelance musician, like no 2 days are exactly like. So yeah,
it definitely shows the different hats, and it shows like the just kind of like the odd ways that we have to work, like, and like, you know, we don't have a typical 9 to 5 kind of thing, and just like people probably have a lot of different perceptions about what musicians do, or like how we make things work or not work. But like, you know, what are kind of some of the sacrifices or some of the things that people probably don't think about musicians having to do?
Well, the joke that I sort of put into these videos that I always say at the end is like, yeah, sacrifice here, because I literally sleep on a pull-out couch right now, because I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I realized that I had a pretty good space in the back to turn what would be the bedroom into a home studio, and it's great. Like people come over and we write and we record, and I can get like 75 to 80% of a track done in my space, which I'm super proud of. But at the end of the day, I don't have a bed. So that is a sacrifice. I pull out my bed most nights. What other sacrifices are there? I work most days of the week, like 6 or 7 days of the week, but I love it. So it's not that bad. It's just like at the end of the day, when I'm done assisting Mark, then I have freelance stuff that I need to work on, whether I'm mixing a track for somebody or producing. Sometimes I'll have in-person sessions where people come over, and then Sunday is the only day that I'm not working with Mark. So that's like a very open day for me, where I'll have a session at my place. And yeah, it's just like, I kind of feel like I'm always doing something, which can be a lot. It can be exhausting. I do go out of my way to make sure that like at least one day a week I have some time to just like chill and decompress. But I do sort of feel like right now dude, I was about to unironically say I'm in grind mode, but
I'm in demon mode, demon sigma mode.
Yeah, but it's just a lot. Like, so yeah, that's a sacrifice, I guess. Like, I think if you really want to make this work, and I would say I've far from made it, but I think there are sort of levels to it where you can like take a step back and be like, oh, cool. Like I can pay my bills doing music. Like, I think that's a win. And I'm just trying to continue to climb the mountain, you know?
Yeah. That's sick, man. Yeah. And like, just, it's probably fulfilling to just work with that caliber of people and make a product that you can believe in and be proud of.
It's really cool. Yeah. this is not like maybe the path that I would have expected to be on, but I mean, you can never predict your path. But it sounds like similar to you, but correct me if I'm wrong. You sort of get into certain things out of necessity. So it's like when I was playing in a band in college, I had no engineering experience, but we had some sessions that just like weren't great with engineers, and I was really curious about it. And I started getting more into engineering and producing, and it's a slippery slope, right? So you start, you need to fill a role at first, and then you get really into it. So like I still identify as a keyboard player above everything else, but now I mix, and now I am a recording engineer too, and then I'm also a producer, and a lot of these things just happen out of necessity. I feel like I don't remember how I got there, why I started talking about that, but yeah, it's like those are the many different things that you do in order to make this sort of thing work. I feel like as a freelance musician.
Yeah, the producer life chose you. You didn't choose it,
I guess.
So that's cool, man. Where do you do freelance stuff with just kind of like people you know, or you do online stuff?
Yeah, I would say actually a good amount of the work that I've gotten has come from online, just people reaching out to me, whether it's like a DM or through my website. But also just now being here in Nashville and like making these sorts of like organic connections. It's like, oh, you should work with this person. You should work with this person. Like word of mouth. Something that I've really appreciated about Nashville is it's a very hospitable scene. Like I don't get the vibe that anybody wants to like gatekeep their connections. It's more like, oh, you know, Scott, he would be great to work with whoever. And then like, if that connection is good for us, then that's a good look for them too, because they put you on. So I don't know, have you had that experience where you feel like people are pretty open in Nashville about?
I mean, I definitely do feel that there's a good energy at least. I mean, even if we're kind of took us some time to get work started and get going, but like I can't really speak badly about it, man. I feel like everyone's generally trying to help if they can. You know, and just not everyone really has that opportunity for you. And I think it's just one of those things when you move here, you just have to manage your expectations. And even when people say they want to help, and, you know, there can be maybe some smoke blowing up some butts, but like that's okay. You have to kind of take everything with a grain of salt, and just like, you know, if people have something for you, they're not going to hold out, you know, in spite of you.
Right.
It's just everyone's got their own schedules and their own agendas or whatever, and you know, people are busy doing their thing. You can't expect any handouts. We moved out here with nothing lined up, you know, and like right before winter hit, and we're trying to do the cover thing and do this and that, and we had a learning curve. You know, we had to learn a bunch of stuff and end up playing gigs back home to kind of keep up with staying out here, and all that's worth it, because even if the gears move slowly, I think people are generally trying to help and have a good attitude about it.
Cool.
So it's been cool, man, and it's finally starting to blossom, and we got some gigs under our belt, and
great, love that. Going. You gotta let me know when and where. I'd love to check you guys out.
Yeah, man, I gotta we do a blues cover thing on Printer's Alley.
Oh, cool.
So we're playing Friday and Saturday night. At this
Sweet.
New bar, Fedora Lounge. It's right across from Bourbon Boogie. Big red door. And we were just busking on the street, and the bar owner gave us their card and booked us.
Hell yeah!
So
that's what you got to do.
That was one of our first wins for the city, and then we just started getting some fill-in work on Broadway too, and just started that process. So.
Amazing. So you're still doing a lot of playing, it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Yeah, do some road stuff, a lot of fill-in stuff, just, you know,
cool
for everyone that'll let me.
Yeah.
So.
That's something that I've been trying to navigate and just like find that balance to, because like I was saying, with just the falling certain roles out of necessity, like I have been doing less gigging since I've been here, and I've just been a lot more in like the studio world, which I love, but I'm trying to play more. I'm trying to find that balance. Yeah. Because I was definitely doing some more gigging when I was back in New York.
Yeah. What are kind of some keyboard projects that are exciting you right now?
Like of my own?
Yeah, either of your own, or, you know, if you got something you've been working on.
Well, I mean, I have some stuff on the back burner, just of things that I've recorded. Solo stuff, I have no plan or agenda for that, but that just sort of keeps the spark alive. I'm like recording it and I know that it's there, and eventually I'm going to come up with a plan for how I'm going to release some new tracks under my name or something. But I'm producing some projects for people right now. There's an artist here in town named Jake Diamond who I'm working on him with his EP, and I think he'd be the first to say that like previously, I mean, he's definitely like a indie folk leaning sort of guy. Previously, a lot less keyboard stuff, and just because I'm a keyboard player, like his project now inherently sounds a lot more keyboardy. I hope that's cool with him. It's been cool, honestly, to hear how his sound has evolved a little bit and how like our sounds sort of merge. And then there's another artist who I've been doing a bunch of songs with recently. Not from here. He was an internet connection. This guy named Oren Murphy. He's based in Ireland. Yeah. So that's been an interesting collaboration, just going back and forth. Wow. But I've been producing and mixing for him. So yeah, besides that, I'm not doing so much keyboard stuff right now. I just played a gig the other day with an artist named Eli Ward, who was on The Voice. Nice. And I got to play keys in his band, and that was just a classic key gig. Yeah. But yeah, dude, I'm really trying to build out like the keyboard work that I'm doing here. A couple weeks or months ago, I got to hang out with this amazing keyboard player named Kevin Gastangwe, who plays keys for Corey Wong. Nice. And just to see his space, like he has so many keyboards, and he's like doing the thing. And I was like, this is a good guy to model, because he's figured out how to make it work as a keyboard player here in Nashville. Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, so he's like mainly a touring guy. What does it kind of look like to make that work? Is that like multiple bands you're juggling? Is that like...
Yeah, I know that he also does some solo stuff. Also, shout out Kevin if you happen to be watching this. He does his own like gig, but I think like the Corey Wong stuff is definitely his main thing, and they're obviously doing some amazing shows all over the world. Yeah. But yeah, I think you just got to be hitting it hard with gigging all the time. Yeah. So I would have to figure out how that balance would work with being an assistant too, and doing all that.
Yeah, and I mean, things can definitely be chapters. I mean,
for sure,
this is definitely a really cool chapter to watch you go through. I mean, that's just I'm sure you're learning a lot. I mean, watching Mark, I can't even imagine content creation on that level. That's like needing an assistant and like doing it 6 days a week. Like it's
a lot.
That's intensive.
Yeah. And part of the challenge, or like the journey over this last year, has sort of been understanding how his brain works, and like being able to anticipate like what ideas he'll like and what he won't like. Yeah. Because now that I'm more on his sort of like brain wave, I'm able to just like throw out ideas that I feel like he'll resonate with. Yeah. But it's a lot of trial and error, and a lot of going back to the drawing board and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. Definitely cool though. I remembered when I had a brain fart earlier, and I couldn't remember what you asked me, but you were like, it must be cool to work on that caliber. And it definitely is cool. Like, taking a step back from when I started doing music production at like 15 years old in my bedroom. Yeah. And then in college, like recording SoundCloud artists, or, like like for $40, I'll record your entire EP, or like over YouTube beats or whatever. So like, it definitely is like levels, and it does not happen overnight. But then, you take a step back and you're working with an artist who you like in Ireland, and you're assisting in a studio in Nashville. And I can't stress enough, I feel super grateful and fortunate to like be in this position now. I still feel like I'm just at the bottom, like trying to figure out exactly what it is I want for myself now. But just to be surrounded by people who are doing what I want to be doing at a really high level, like I feel very motivated and have no intention of stopping.
Yeah. Yeah, that's dope, man. Yeah, it makes me think back to like recording on Audacity or something, and like just Yeah, it's cool to see progress, man. And this town is like quick progress. It seems like, out here I kind of lost track of like the meaning of weekdays or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's always a weekend.
No, that's a good point.
It's like the days feel like weekend days, and then the weekends feel like some crazy festival or something. So it's just like time almost seems like it's moving by 7 times as fast. Like it's just every day is just jam packed with stuff that you can't possibly see and do everything in this town. You're always gonna miss something.
It's an interesting observation. I still like I make a point to be like, oh cool, like I get to do music today, like really try to internalize what I'm doing. The crazy thing is like you do get in a rhythm, whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's gigging or whether it's working in a studio, and like it does become a job still. Like at the end of the day, it is a job. But I still try to be aware of the fact, like I wake up every day, I'm like, cool, I get to make music today, or like work on music, and I do not take that for granted.
Yeah, I mean, this town it's very hopeful. Like every time I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, I just woke up in Nashville. Like there's so much that could happen. I have no idea.
Yep. I feel a little more jaded now.
Yeah.
A year in, that wore off. No, not really. Like I am still like excited to be in Nashville. That's been the coolest thing for me, being in a town where the infrastructure like is music. It's cool that it's such a thriving industry. I'd never experienced anything like it before visiting, and I'm happy to like be a part of it now.
Yeah. So I'm curious about like 2 things. Like one, and we can get into them separately, but like kind of like what it was like gigging in New York, and then 2, like what it's kind of like growing up out there, and like what you kind of do, and this applies to here too, what you kind of do for fun outside of music and all that.
In New York?
Yeah, in New York. I mean, in life in general, I guess balancing like gigging and and
got you
and all that.
I'll answer the first question. So what it's like gigging in New York?
Yeah,
it's very fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I was in this band in college called No New Friends, and that was sort of like an easy pipeline into gigging in New York because all of us were from like the tri-state area, and got to play some really sweet venues in New York. Sultan Room, New Blue, band played at Mercury Lounge at one point. And it's really cool when you can sort of fill a room in New York City, and then, I don't really know if there's a follow-up to that. It's just cool filling a room in New York City.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's fun. Like it's great electric energy.
Yeah.
I also love the fact that in New York, like not everybody there is there for music.
Right.
So like my friends who work in finance or marketing or advertising or whatever, like they could all be there. And like at the end of the day, I think New York is just full of people doing different things.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate about that city. Different here in Nashville, right? Where it's like, oh, you worked on this album? Like, oh, you work in this studio? Like everybody's in music, which is sweet.
Right.
But it's just different.
Yeah, no, I mean, New York definitely seems way more diverse, and just like, I mean, on a different level. I mean, Nashville's, I guess, more diverse than my small town, Louisiana, but like, yeah, just industrially diverse. I mean, that's interesting, and like, it's probably, I don't want to say it's just a different culture. It's like,
for sure,
what, and like, obviously a different music culture too. Yeah.
So I'd say it's a little bit more just like the scene's a little more cutthroat, I guess.
Yeah.
I also played smaller venues too, like Pianos, Bowery Electric. Just like the small gigs are as fun as the big gigs too, just because I don't know, there's just like this palpable New York energy. It's hard to describe. It's not a great answer, but so yeah, that's what gigging is like there. And then I would say just the scene in general. It's not like my experience, at least when I've been out to LA, I felt like it's cool. I'd like to go visit. It feels a little more like gatekeepy than Nashville does.
As I've heard.
Yeah, and then New York, I don't think it's like that so much. I just think it's a little bit more cutthroat, and you definitely have to know people. But like once you get tapped into certain scenes or circles, then it's definitely feasible. Like I think that I can get back to a spot where I'm making music, my living in New York. It's just I need to have a lot more like freelance projects and be on a higher level than I am right now in order to sustain that. Just the cost of living so much higher there.
Yeah.
But I'm in no rush. I just think eventually it would be cool to be able to do it back in that scene. I'm biased, but I think New York's the greatest city in the world.
Yeah, I never been, but it's definitely on the bucket list. I definitely got to spend some time out there.
And then the other question is, what do I do outside of music, or like?
Yeah. I just didn't want to forget this question, but yeah, like what would you do if music just didn't exist, wasn't part of your? I mean, that's a hard question. I'm sure, because like, you know,
I have absolutely no idea. Something I've realized recently is like I probably need some hobbies because like a friend came over the other day after work. It's like a Saturday night. We got food, came back to my place, and I was showing him my studio. We're sitting there. It's like, cool. So you want to record? Like after I'm done with the day of that, that's all I know how to do. All I like doing. But I don't know. I like hanging out with friends. I like a good beer.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Dude, yeah, I don't know what I would do outside of music, to be honest. I've never imagined. I didn't know like what a career in music would look like for me. I just knew that it would have something to do with it.
Yeah.
I truly, truly don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
I need to come up with an answer for that.
That's dedication, man. That's like, you know, diving into something so deep. In like, I think that's like, I don't know if it's like a Stoic philosophy or something, but just letting this art consume you to the point where like you're actually, you know, fully fleshing out your potential in that thing.
I appreciate that. I mean, I was friends with people like in high school and middle school. And this is not an at to anybody. I just played with some amazing musicians, and people were also really into other things. Like they had other academic areas of interest, and they could have succeeded, or they could succeed in music right now if they want to. I'm genuinely not thinking of anybody in particular. I know these types of people who I played with, like in bands at school and stuff like that. But they always sort of had like a fallback or something, and I just always wanted to. I never didn't want to do music. Like there never was another academic area. Like my favorite class in school was AP Music Theory.
Yeah.
Nice. I was such a music nerd. So I just never had a backup plan, I guess.
Yeah.
The backup plan was other areas of music. So I guess like I'm doing production and mixing and engineering and stuff, which wasn't originally part of the plan.
Yeah.
But still within music.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little behind on the choosing to go hard in the paint on the music thing, and like I'm definitely not like a slouch player, but I'm definitely not the best player in the world. Just because I see some kids and they know from the jump like this is the only thing I've got and want to do, and like it just took me a while to really like I guess kind of like believe in myself enough to even like go that hard in it, you know. And just because it was always kind of like a small town, just like, yeah, music's kind of like, yeah, right. Like, you know, but no, I mean, at some point it's just like, it's the only thing that really gets me out of bed in the morning at the same, you know, energy that, you know, and that's kind of why I go for it. And now it's like, I started gigging in Louisiana and trying to get better and kind of hit a plateau. And this moving out here has really just been like, I'm just trying to break through those plateaus and push myself to be better and reach my full potential in this thing. Because it's like, you know, this has been a crazy humbling experience. And, you know, I knew it would be, and that's why I was excited about it. It was just like, you know, damn, the talent in this town is unbelievable. It's exciting. But I'm sure you're kind of used to that with New York. It's, you know, probably a different adjustment.
Yeah, yes, but also like never experienced the going to a random bar on some random corner and hearing the best guitar player ever. Like the what's the expression, like the price of poker, it's very high here. Like if you're sitting at the table, it's because you're already very talented. So I think like moving here, like it's a testament to like your confidence, your skill, like yeah, moving here as a guitar player in Nashville, like you're not the first person with that idea.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, you gotta be good enough to want to do it in the first place. So
That's a good point.
Props.
Sweet. Yeah, that's a good saying, man. It's yeah, it's definitely not like a totally uneducated, delusional decision to come out here. Obviously, like that would be suicide. It's too big of a hill to climb to just kind of like believe that I've already got all the shit I need and like I'm
Right.
already the best player. Like obviously not. Like it is crazy, man. It's already showing in my playing, and I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited about these shows we got coming up because it's all the roommates.
Sweet.
So it's like we kind of have to split up to get work and kind of stay busy, but like we actually have this show pretty consistent. It's like twice a month with the roommates, so it gets us tight, gets us to get
That's amazing.
Get practicing.
Is it under your name, or do you guys have a band name?
It used to be under my name. We have a band name. We just put it together called Jive.
Cool. I like that.
But it might have to revert back to my name just if we have to like switch out players and just kind of. I guess I don't have to, but I was talking to somebody about it and just like the band leader aspect of like having to switch out players because everyone's getting busy and everyone's kind of like. And I can foresee that in the future we will be getting busy in our own schedules and stuff like that. And we kind of made the name for us as the roommates, like, this is the label for the roommates. And
cool.
But I'm not a huge writer, and I'd love to write more, especially if I was like putting my name out there and being like, this is who I am, because I don't want my name to mean cover band.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of a weird thing about Nashville whenever I see like Broadway bands and it's like their name and it's them doing covers only.
Yeah.
And then they have a band name and that's the originals. It's like, why wouldn't who you are be the music that's original to you? Like,
right.
It's kind of strange in that way. It seems a little backwards, but
I agree. Yeah. That whole Broadway circuit, I'm not really in that world. Like the only time I'm on Broadway for the most part is if friends are visiting and I want to show them the cacophony.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. It's like if you're writing music, put that out under your own name.
Yeah.
If you ever want to write, let me know.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. I'm trying to dive into it. Like I said, I'm trying to get out of these bubbles and like cross pollinate. And yeah, I'd love to, man.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, sick, man. What else you got going on today?
Today, I'm actually not going over to Mark's studio today. I'm headed to the airport to do a global entry interview so that I can get TSA pre-check.
Oh, nice.
And then I'm probably just going to work on some freelance stuff. I have to bounce out a mix tonight and then just prep for a session that I have later this week. But pretty chill day. This is the most exciting thing I got going on today.
Well, nice. Glad that we had this very exciting couch session. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I was happy to come on your podcast. Thanks for reaching out. And yeah, I just think that like it's cool to have a platform where you're able to sort of shed light on other people's experiences and hopefully people can learn from that. And,
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, thank you so much, man. This whole podcast has been a huge investment in my education. It's just like every podcast is completely different perspective, completely different experiences, stories, attitudes. I've had some characters on.
Would you say you have like a theme that you try to hit every episode, or is it mostly just a conversation with whoever is there?
I love to know what was the tipping point got people out here. I love to know what they would do if music wasn't a thing. Like I want to know who they are aside from just work. And for some people, it is just the music thing, and like that's sick too. But I, personally, like there's so many things that I'm interested in, but not even interested, but just that I love to do. I love to kayak. I love to dance. I love to dance with cute girls. I love to drink. I love to game. I love to make funny videos, do whatever. I mean, there's just a lot of different angles to a person other than just what they do for work. And like and I think it's just really cool to see how people navigate life in general. And it's been cool. I've learned a lot from people I've played for. I played guitar for Gerald Grunig and Horace Strawhall back home, and those were two of the kind of eye-opening people I played for, and they really taught me a lot about how there's different ways to live your life, and you know, you don't have to just go down the route that your parents tell you or that everyone else is going down. It's like, you know, Horace, for example, he's a part-time musician. He plays, you know, he's been playing since the 90s, playing festivals and playing Zydeco all over the country and world. But he also has a farm with his family and cuts grass on the side and doesn't put all of his financial obligation on music. And you know, he's very down to earth and lives a very fulfilled life, and it's inspiring. And
cool.
He's a real cool guy, real country ball. And Gerald Grunig, another guy, is he does like food review kind of things. He was like our local news anchor for our news station, and would do like the local talent and do this stuff. And he blew up on TikTok doing these food reviews, and basically is like leveraging his audience to market. Like, he also has a band, like a Zydeco band, and can basically leverage his audience to market for the events and stuff like that. And just he's got a totally different way of thinking about music business.
Cool. And
I graduated in music business.
Where'd you go?
To UL. It's in Lafayette, University of Lafayette, Louisiana. And a lot of my education was really just from the people I played with.
Yeah.
And, you know, like outside of school. And those guys inspired me to start this podcast, because it's like, I want to be able to try and make different paths for myself and kind of give myself more freedom to live a life that, you know, is outside of the traditional matrix roles or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so this is kind of a planting a seed. It's not doing anything crazy yet, but like I'm hopeful for it, because I love the returns I'm getting in the moment, and I know that it's just got only up potential from here. So it's
right on,
cool.
Dude. Yeah, I think that like something that I've seen, a lot of the people who are here, the reason why they're here is because they have that similar drive, or they have that desire to not do the traditional, like you said, matrix or 9 to 5, whatever.
Yeah.
And you almost, I find, have to have like a delusional level of confidence or belief in yourself just to know that eventually it is going to work out. But I think the only difference between the people who succeed in doing this sort of thing and the people who don't is that the people who succeed never quit.
Right.
And the people who don't decided to stop at some point. So just keep it going. Like, you already have the neon sign, so this is pretty legit.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was first step into legitimacy. It's the neon sign. But yeah, man, it's exciting. And I think even within music there are the matrix things, or like the traditional roles or routes to go. And like, I think the internet's kind of like a good place to break out of that. Mm-hmm. You know, the internet's so young, and YouTube's already changed so much since when I first got on it, but like, I don't see it going anywhere. So that's just kind of what
still pays the best for content.
Yeah, I mean, it's just growing and growing, and just crazy amount of content getting on there, and like all these comedians making all this like free specials and stuff, translating into ticket sales and stuff like that. It's changing the industry, and I don't think it's going anywhere. So this is kind of an investment in the internet and into that.
Right on. Well, excited to watch this grow. And thanks again for having me on.
Dude, thank you for coming, man. Super sick. I hope we could do it again sometime.
Yeah, it'd be sweet.
Yeah. Right on, man.
Cool.
Do you have any message for the people? Anything you got going on? Anything you want to let people know?
If you made it to the end of the podcast, thanks for sticking around. I'm STTGTT on all social media, Instagram, TikTok. I mentioned some of the artists previously who I'm working with. If you want to work with me, shoot me a message, and it's probably a good plug right there.
Oh, sick, man. Thank you for coming, man.
Cool.
Bye, everybody.